You're live. All right, we're going to get started here in just a minute while we let everybody log in. So we'll give it just a second. We're excited to have our webinar today. Looking forward to this with Oki, as his nickname is, and Adeel. All right.
Adeel, have we given you a special nickname yet or no?
There's a couple of nicknames at Sonos, but nothing stuck. But
okay.
You know what? Thinking about it, I don't think I've ever called you Ryan.
Not many people have. So there's a reason my email is actually oki@brilliant.
There you go. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you all to Webinar Wednesday. We're really excited to have our webinar today. Today we have Brilliant Smart Homes doing an interview with Google. Oki is our presenter today. He'll be interviewing Adeel from Google. Before we get started though, I want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. We have down at the bottom, you'll see two little speech bubbles of your screen. It's a Q&A bubble. If you have questions during the program, you are welcome to type your answers in there. Our questions in there. We will reserve all questions until the very end. So feel free to go ahead and answer those questions during the program. And again, we'll answer those at the end. If you have any questions about Zoom or you're struggling to hear something or whatever, or something's not right, you can chat with me directly through the chat bubble down at the bottom. So Q&A for questions, chat bubble to talk directly to me if you have any questions during the program that are logistics related. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Oki. We're really excited. He's with Brilliant. This is his third webinar with us. Always great energy, great fun, and great information. So take it away, Ryan.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, Emma Jane. Thank you, everybody who's watching here and joining, as I know your time is very valuable, and this is something that we hope can give you some extra insight into what we do at Brilliant and what our partners here with Google do, as well as just some strategy on the smart home space. A couple things that I want to do for my housekeeping, just so you're aware, today is going to be actually a training more as an interview. In that sort of style. So no live product demo, no sales pitch or anything like that. I've done that on previous webinars. So you can go back to the Builder Partnerships webinar library and find those to watch to get a live demo of the Brilliant Smart Home System and our control, as well as understanding that sales pitch. But I want to introduce that fine gentleman right there. A little background on him. He actually spent, let's see, it was 4 years with Mitsubishi as an account manager, building up their pro program. After that, our paths crossed at Sonos, where he spent 6 years, a little longer than me, which is a good chunk of time. Again, the greater New York area and the Northeast, building up the pro program up there. And then in the last 4 years, he's been with Google, started as a business development manager, Now he's the national partner manager. And the fun, embarrassing fact I have about him is that he is a top 40 under 40 honoree. So we are in some high class presence right here with the one, the only Adeel Tufail. Adeel, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate you hopping on. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Oki. I think you overpraised me. Oki and I go way back. We were a part of the original field team at Sonos, so we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah, it's been great to see both of us kind of advance and develop in our careers and continue to move forward. So I've been doing some great things. I can't say I'm a top 40 under 40 honoree, but that's a good little fun fact I found about you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. So what we're going to be doing today, again, as I mentioned, this is going to be a bit more of an interview style. We really want to understand more about the smart home space, the strategy, how partnerships and really coming with solutions are really going to help you develop your strategy, what that looks like, kind of our visions of the state of the smart home, as well as where we see it going, and really have a good conversation to wrap your head around, not just what other builders might be doing, but how the tech companies, these companies that are producing the products that you will or are thinking about putting inside of your homes, are looking at the smart home space. So you can understand our strategy, how that might fit into what you're trying to do as a home builder to help differentiate your homes, and really developing that right ecosystem to make sure you can build homes faster, build homes that your home buyers will absolutely love is the idea behind it. So I think a great place to start is kind of, Adeel, getting your opinion of I'd say, how Google looks at the current state of the smart home, whether it be, the number of devices, those desired devices. I'd love to hear what you and the Google team think about the smart home space at this point.
It's the future. Smart home is getting bigger, faster, stronger. We've been saying it for the last few years, but we're starting to see that become more and more materialized with a lot of manufacturers entering the category, building product, creating integrations. Obviously, Brilliant is a great example of that, where it's a great solution piece. But we do see the smart home getting bigger, faster, stronger, the adoption getting much, much more stronger. And not only manufacturers and people in the industry saying that, but consumers asking, and instead of it being a want, it's more of a need of, hey, I need a smart doorbell, a smart thermostat, a smart light switch, because you got to remember the demographics are changing. Today, a millennial is technically 40, right? So they're buying their first home, if not their second home. And the idea is that they don't look at technology as a want anymore. Like, I really wish I could have that. They look at it as a need. Like, no one got up this morning and said, man, I really wish I had a smartphone. They need a smartphone today, right? Like, that's kind of a part of where all of this is going. And as this past decade was all about the smartphone and, technology becoming much more seamless and easier to use with the end user, the consumer. People are now want that experience to expand beyond just their mobile phone into the home, into the car, into all aspects of their life. So we're going to see this over the next few years, and by the end of the decade, become much more of the norm. And it's exciting because I think there was a study that said that by 2025, there will be 50 trillion or over 50 trillion IoT devices in the world. And that's not far-fetched with the fact that we have 7 billion people in the world. And, that literally is, just a handful of devices per person. So that's not a stretch at all, but that just goes to show you where this is all going. And people are going to want this in their home, and not just as an add-on of, let me buy the home and get granite counters and the traditional home upgrades. They're going to be looking at technology as being a part of their day-to-day experience in a home. And if a builder can have the foresight to see that and start having that already in the home, if you're looking at two homes and price is equal, you're going to go gravitate towards the home that not only gives you the traditional upgrades, but also gives you the technological upgrades. So we're really excited about where this is all going, and it's the best place to be right now because all the numbers are saying it's getting bigger, faster, stronger. And the pandemic actually proved that. As we spent more time in the home, people started upgrading their homes. So we started to see an uptick in business that, hey, since I'm spending more time in the home, I want the home to be smarter. And as it got smarter, it made the experience much more pleasant. And people then might start off with a smart speaker, then went to a smart thermostat, and then a smart doorbell. But it just had a domino effect. So it's really exciting about where this is all going. And I think when you take a step back and you look at the manufacturers and the categories that it's entering, you have just about a smart device in every category of the home today.
It's really interesting to see how many parallels there are between our companies, even though, Google's the massive giant that you are, and Brilliant, we're, the kind of fresh new startup in that sense, because very similar. We have statistics, I think it's, in 2022, half of homes are going to have a voice assistant just built in, which I don't really classify that as a smart home. It's more the number of devices. And in 2022, the average number of connected devices is going to be around 23 or 24 per home, because it's just everything's becoming connected. It started off with maybe lights or speakers. Now it's doorbells, it's locks, it's cameras, it's thermostats, it's you name it, it's becoming a connected device. I have a connected shade. I mean, there's connected, what else? Sprinkler systems, you name it, it's going to become connected and smart because people want that kind of universal control. And that same idea for us during the pandemic, people made the investment in the home. We saw an uptick in business as well. So there was always that kind of, okay, I'm waiting for that right opportunity. I'm waiting for that right time. And there might not have ever been a right time. But that was it. So people started to invest because they knew they wanted it. But how do they simplify it? So that's a big indicator that people are going to do it when they have the time, but making the time. So if it's going to become sort of a standard offering, something that you can provide for them, inherently, yeah, there's that gravitation towards it. There's that need to say, I want to have this because, the connected home, it's essentially going to be a modern utility in our point of view, because when people buy their homes, they're setting up their water, they're setting up electric, they're setting up their Wi-Fi. And what are the first things they're going to connect to the Wi-Fi? All the connected devices. I mean, in my house, I think I have around 30 plus connected devices. Now, yes, I get that I work in tech and I'm maybe a bit of the exception to the rule. But to Adeel's point, millennials are getting older. They're having kids and their kids are now on iPads and things like that. It's how do you make the home work for them a little bit more? And I think that's where the story is really leading towards, to develop the right products, develop the right ecosystem. Would you agree there, Adeel?
Absolutely. And, I touched upon it where it was about experience, right? And Oki, you and I both come from backgrounds where we are all about the experience. And that's where we're headed. And you brought up voice, right? Think about what voice brings to the table. If you want to, let's just say, adjust your smart thermostat, right? That experience today traditionally is you pick up your phone, you unlock it, you click on the app, you click on the device, and you adjust. That's 5 steps. Or you can just simply say, hey, G, I'm cold, and the thermostat goes up 3 degrees, right? So we've eliminated that friction, even though what I just said is seamless and something that we use every day. But think about what voice is doing, and it's simplifying the interaction with that technology. And we talked about millennials, like you brought up, that they're starting to get into their first or second home. But let's think about a couple other demographics, right? We'll talk about senior citizens, right? I always use my father's example. My father, God bless him, he's turning 81 this year. Voice for him is something that's really exciting because, he has an iPhone, but he doesn't really use the iPhone to its full capability. So for him to have a Nest thermostat in his home, and he can just blurt across the room, hey, G, I'm cold, and it goes up 3 degrees, he now can interact with technology much more seamlessly. And guess what? Now he wants more of it, right? He wants more of it in his home because it actually makes his day-to-day in the home much more pleasant. And that's what voice is going to do overall, is it's going to make the interaction with the home seamless, easy, and you don't have to be a millennial or Gen Z or even understand technology to have a great experience.
Oh, Adeel, I think we lost your audio there real quick. Double check, maybe you accidentally hit mute.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. But
no worries.
The idea is voice will simplify that. And the other demographic that we like to talk about, people with disabilities, right? People with disabilities, once voice enters the home, it now has a seamless interaction with the home, and it gives independence to the person with disabilities. So now they can actually work with the home, they can get around the home. Mobility is not the same issue as it was without voice. So you can see, and then last but not least, the most obvious you might be thinking about is Gen Z, right? They don't look at voice as cool or this is nice to have. I remember in the days of us traveling and going through airports, people wouldn't even text on their phone. They're walking through the airport, they're talking into their phone and doing, speech to text messages, right? And, people that are in that Gen Z demographic, voice is second nature to them. What do you mean you can't do this via voice is kind of the response you get from that demographic. So Oki, you brought up millennials are having children. Those are Gen Z children, right? They're having children that actually want technology to be more and more integrated. And that's what Google's leading is. Google's leading the interaction between technology and being a platform where companies like Brilliant can come onto and enhance the overall experience for the end user, right? Because what Brilliant's doing is, it's enhancing what voice is already doing, right? It's bringing everything together via the Google platform. And that's where we're kind of saying this is all headed, is the fact that you can take all these devices, make them work together, create an experience. And guess what? People want more of it. And they're going to remember that. They're going to tell their neighbor, hey, my home came with a Brilliant integration or a Google integration already, and I just needed a couple more products to tailor it the way I want to. And that's what we're saying is, let's focus on the experience, and finding the right products for the experience will change the overall perception of that home.
No, that's fantastic. And you spoke to something that I hadn't thought about. And it's, me thinking of my parents, and they always look at me and they're like, oh, you're so, tech forward and you know everything. And I'm like, it's not that hard, guys. If you just want to kind of open up your mind and give it a shot. Now, my father, bless his heart, he just turned 75. He hates technology. He doesn't like sending text messages and everything. And you mentioned, Adeel, just being able to say, hey, G, I'm home, or hey, G, I'm cold. Like, that is an experience that is so much easier for him to be able to do than to open up a phone where he has to remember a dumb passcode, as he calls it, to this dumb phone to understand how does he have to navigate. And now he can just simply use his voice. That is a great experience. And, between the voice assistant and Brilliant tied in together, that's where we can really start to create some fantastic experiences. Because Brilliant has the integration with the Google Voice Assistant, they could simply say, hey, G, I'm home. And that could trigger the thermostat to change to a certain temperature, any smart lights that are wired into Brilliant to change, maybe the Nest lock to unlock or lock, or whatever they want. So combining these group sets of actions with a simple voice command, voice is going to be that great equalizer in this space to tie these devices together, to make them want to create a seamless experience. So we're able to kind of pick and choose the right products that will create the right experience. And when we talk about what that right experience can be, that's where you can look at the Google suite of products, you can look at Brilliant, and then start to tailor how you're building your home. If you want to build an energy efficient home, obviously that's going to start with a thermostat and smart lighting. If you want to have more of an entertainment home, then you're going to include some smart speakers. If you want a secure home, then you're going to go with the lock. So there's a lot of different avenues in how you want to tailor that smart home experience, depending on that home buyer. And of course, Brilliant can help you out, Google can help you out on what that's going to look like. So when we talk about how do you want to build that smart home, well, that's up to you and your strategy and how you want to market. I think we're still early enough in this transition into every home being a smart home that, maybe we're not quite we're maybe just past the early adopters, but I think we're definitely early on the first movers part, where people are understanding this is going to have to be a standard, and what is that experience going to be? Do you agree there, Adeel?
Absolutely. And, one of the things that you brought up about where we are in the phase, just keep in mind, every decade we approach technology differently, right? So if you go back in the last 20 years, the last 2 decades, the first part of the decade, it was, if you remember, Oki, like early 2000, there was no iPhone. Like a smartphone was a BlackBerry or a Palm Pilot, right? As we kind of got near the end of the decade. Yeah, if you remember that, like that wasn't long ago. As we got near the end of the decade, we started to see iOS and Android kind of come to fruition. And this past decade, we saw iOS and Android really take off, right? Where people had apps and they're using technology on a day-to-day. This decade, like I said, it's now moving from a mobile aspect to into the common parts of the home. And we're calling this the decade of ambient computing, where everything around you will interact with you in some form or fashion, right? So you enter the home, you enter your office, you enter your car, it's going to have some type of interaction. And that's something that we just have to embrace, the fact that technology is moving that way. And it's not just Google saying that, it's every manufacturer making a smart device, right? And every manufacturer making a smart device kind of leads us into that phase of, okay, if everything's smart, how do we take this one-off experience and combine it all together to create an overall best experience? And that's where Brilliant and Google come into play, is we're taking that and saying, okay, we can do the following, Brilliant can do the following, and let's just add a bunch of other smart devices, and you're creating that overall best-in-class experience for the end user. And I think, if you one of the core fundamentals we both learned at Sonos was, if you focus on the end user, a lot of great things come out of that, right? And that's something that's our North Star, is the fact that we always focus on the end user when creating those experiences. And when those experiences are at the forefront, that's where people will now gravitate towards that product or platform.
Yeah, the experience comes first, something that we hold near and dear to our hearts, which is key. And I love how you mentioned, smart cars and how smart is everywhere at this point. When we talk about all these newest cars and how smart they are, do we actually call hey, I love your new smart car? No one says that. No one just says, I love your car. And it's inherently cool and it has a smart technology built in. We're going to be talking about the smart home in the same way in the next 5 to 10 years. We're not going to call it a smart home. It's just going to be your home, and inherently it will be smart. That's the way everything is changing and moving forwards too. So in order to have it be that way, to your point, the experience has to come first. And that's what you're doing with your products. That's what Brilliant, we try and strive to do with our products. And that's why, we believe that we can go far together, because there's an old proverb, and I probably referenced this in one of the old webinars. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's where having these partnerships, having these integrations allows for such a great end user experience. And I cannot stress that enough about how we put the experience first. So now if I'm a home builder and I'm like, okay, what if I want to build my smart home strategy around this certain product? Well, what about all the other stuff that potential home buyer might have? That's the beauty of the integrations, to say, hey, bring your existing smart technology. And if you already had some smart plugs, if you already had some smart bulbs, great, that's not a problem. You can work that into the system, have it work with the Google Voice Assistant, have it tie into the Brilliant system, and create that automation, create that seamless experience that is desired, that we want, that we talk about, the home of the future. What can it do? That's available today with some very simple programming that you don't need to, pass a master course to be able to do. You can program it in an application that we all know, or we can all navigate for the most part. So really start to think about that as you want to build that smart home experience. So I would say, Adeel, what can home builders really start to do to plan their next smart home or plan their smart home strategy?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the product offerings that we have, a lot of the products that we offer are very core to the home, like thermostat, doorbell, door lock, smoke CO detectors. These are all fundamentals of the home that everyone needs or has today. Like everyone has a door lock, right? Everyone has a thermostat in their home. Everyone has a doorbell. Whether it's analog or smart, that's a different story, but these are all in the home. And obviously, even smoke CO detectors, those are to pass inspection, you have to have those. So the idea is that I think if you look at the core fundamentals of the home, people need an HVAC system, so they're going to have a thermostat. Why not give them a smart thermostat so that they can manage their energy better? One of the things that people always associate with thermostat is like heating and cooling, which yes, it's definitely a part of comfort, but the HVAC system consumes the most energy in the home out of any other device. So a smart thermostat is more energy management than it is heating and cooling, because when you have a smart thermostat in your home, it's not cooling your home when no one's around, right? Because that defeats the purpose. Like no one needs to be in an empty cool home or an empty hot home. They want to be in a home that's pleasant when they're there, but when they're not there, they don't need the heating and cooling aspect. That's where, the Nest smart thermostats come into play, because now you'll automatically notice your electricity bill has come down because the Nest thermostats manage your HVAC system, which consumes the most energy in the home. And that's something that's very appealing to homeowners, especially in areas where electricity is really expensive. You think of New York City, you think of California, their electricity is very expensive, and you want and then also like the blackouts that happen in California, like we have like rush hour rewards where we can actually work with energy providers. But that's the idea, is that I think having a thermostat changes the way people look at the home, because, okay, great, it has a smart thermostat. It's going to manage my energy better, which is going to bring my utilities down. I think that's a great first step. The other thing is like video doorbell is a great example, especially now that we encountered this pandemic. We're probably still in it. And the idea is that no one wants to go and answer the door anymore without knowing who it is. So now you have the security aspect of it, the pandemic aspect of it. People want to know who's at the door before they even get off their couch or, stop cooking dinner or lunch or whatever it might be. They want to know what's going on. So a video doorbell is core because, again, every home comes with a doorbell, but the experience with a video doorbell is radically different than a home that does not have a video doorbell because you know what's going on. And then, last probably but not least, you can think about door lock or even smoke CO. Like, I think it's a tie. Personally, I think smoke CO just because it ties in to our product line. So when you look at it from a Nest product line perspective, all of our products work with each other in some form or fashion. So if let's just say you standardize the Nest thermostat in your community and you have everything there, if you add a smoke CO detector and it detects smoke or CO, it's automatically going to shut off the air handler via the Nest thermostat. So that's a commercial standard that we're bringing to the residential aspect today. So the idea is that now you have a Nest Protect in every home. And keep in mind, you're going to put one in the common area, one in each home. You're going to obviously be up to code with it. But the idea now is that you can now tout that, hey, in case of a smoke or CO emergency, the HVAC system will turn off so it doesn't spread smoke throughout the entire home. And that's actually, in a fire, the number one cause of death is not the actual fire, it's actually smoke inhalation. So that's a very relevant feature to have. But at the same time, if the Nest Protect detects smoke or fire, it'll actually turn on all your Nest cameras, including your doorbell, and it'll start recording. So now your front door will actually start recording what's going on. And a really cool feature about the Nest Protect and the video doorbell is if it detects fire, the ring around the video doorbell will turn red, letting you know that, hey, there's danger inside. So even if you're not home and you're approaching the home, if you notice a red ring around your doorbell, that means that there's imminent danger inside, whether that's fire or smoke or even CO, that, hey, don't go in the house yet, right? So I think when you look at it from that perspective, and then, cameras, smart cameras are probably something that we always highly recommend because just about everyone has smart cameras around their home. Usually it starts with the video doorbell, but then people will start off with the doorbell and then maybe add a camera to the left or the right of their home or have something in their backyard. And now that we have the Nest Cam with floodlight, that makes it a lot more easier to have maybe a floodlight cam over your garage and have a Nest video doorbell, at your front door, and you have pretty much your entire front covered for a good chunk of homes out there. So I think depending on how you design it, those are a few products that come to mind. And then obviously, the number one cool thing about the Assistant and the Google Nest devices is that the two top things that we get used for is one is lighting and then entertainment. So wink, wink, Brilliant is not only a smart a home automation platform, but guess what you're replacing is the lighting, those gang switches. So automatically having Brilliant in the home, fills that, hey, gee, I'm home and the lights turn on. Look, I live in a 700 square foot box here in New York City. And the first thing that I do when I enter my home is I ask Google to turn on the lights. And that's probably my most used feature on my Assistant, not by coincidence, because we all need light in our home as we get into it. And as crazy as this might sound, walking over to a light switch and, flipping it up is almost inconvenient at this point, because usually when I'm entering the home, I have either like grocery bags or my backpack, or my hands are occupied in some way. I can now have that seamless experience and say, hey, G, turn on the lights. And now Brilliant turns on the lights. And then Brilliant knows that I'm home. So if I'm doing like a scene setting, now it's now going through and starting my day or unwinding my day after a long day at work. So I think when you look at our products, personally, I would rank thermostat first, and then it's really up to the builder where they want to go from there. But the cool thing is all of our products from Google Nest work together. So it's not actually a hard sell, even if you add the thermostat as a standard, and then offer the other devices as packages, because it's enhancing the first product that's already in every home in that community.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack there. I think it ties back into the integrations. You can always start foundationally with that main piece of the thermostat and start to build out and expand, whether you choose to make that as a standard or an optional upgrade. I think a big thing that I really was unaware of was how much of a cost savings there are. Not just with the energy efficiency tied into it, but even from the physical hardware perspective. My home here was built in 1951. We didn't have AC. So went and got some quotes, and they were quoting me, I think, anywhere from $500 to, $900 for the actual thermostat that goes on the wall. And I'm just thinking, are you kidding me? I can just get a Nest, plop it on for, a much, much cheaper cost. So now we are not only able to provide a better experience, but also give a better look, have it be more aesthetically pleasing, and save some actual dollars. Because when we think about rolling these costs into maybe a 30-year mortgage, well, you can standardize on a smart home package that foundationally could have a thermostat, could have a brilliant control, could have, that is under $500 if we got just those two pieces, let alone those other optional upgrades that are tied into it. So when we look at the actual cost that's going to, that you would incur as a home builder, let alone how it's going to be for that home buyer, it's actually going to be pretty minimal to get the benefits that we offer. And then to Adeel's point, foundationally start with one and then build and expand on how these products all work together. Because for us at Brilliant, we don't make a doorbell. We don't make a camera other than what's physically on our controls, but we try to enhance all of those experiences. So through our partner integration with Google, when someone presses that Nest Hello doorbell, that's going to pop up on the Brilliant control. And I can have that two-way conversation. So one-way video, I'll be able to see them. Two-way audio, I can talk to them, they can talk to me. Additionally, if I have that Google Smart Lock on the door, I'd have the ability to unlock that door if it was somebody that I knew, or if the door was unlocked, I could lock it. So again, we don't make the doorbell, we don't make the lock, we don't make the thermostat. We are all about enhancing that experience. That's why there's inherently value between these partnerships. So really start to think about, where are the high traffic areas? What are those devices that are going to be most used? And what do you feel is going to bring the most value? If you want to start with a thermostat, fantastic. If you want to start with lighting, because as Adeel said, that's the first thing. He talks to his assistant to say, hey, turn on my lights. And let alone you can take that a step further, program our scenes that we have. So for me, every night at 11 o'clock at night, all of my lights turn off except for my front porch light, which goes to 30%. If any music is playing, it pauses. If my garage door is open, it closes. If my doors were unlocked, they lock. My thermostat turns down, and it just preps me for that. Oh yeah, it's time to go to bed. And it's time to at least get ready. 11 o'clock, a little bit later right now. But again, and if I needed to, if I'm stumbling back out in the middle of the night, I can always talk to the voice systems. Hey, turn the lights back on for me. And the lights turn on. There's just little nuances that you can program in, even things from the Brilliant side of, hey, when there's motion, turn on my light. When there's no motion after 10 minutes, turn off my light. And I never even have to worry about it. I never even have to think about it. So now you can even play a safety around the house. You put a Brilliant control in a hallway. You walk right on by in the middle of the night. You can set time parameters. So, hey, between, sunset to sunrise, when I see motion, turn on my lights. We can actually do that. So you can get creative with the different products that you want, how you want them to tie in together, what you want your voice control to be able to do to, again, build that proper ecosystem in an economic fashion that makes sense for you, that makes sense for the home buyer. So I know I went off on a little bit there, but you unpacked so much, Adeel. I wanted to make sure we really hammer that aspect home, that to get into the smart home space, you do not have to break the bank, because we understand in the how building homes is going right now, cost of lumber was up at least 3x last I heard. It's probably more at this point. The cost of goods is just inherently going up. So you're trying to be efficient. Where can you get the most value with not the biggest amount of cost? And these smart products are inherently beginning to do that, which is a great sign for the home builders to be able to, again, standardize on it or offer it as an upgrade package for their home buyers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think a big thing to point out here too is that many of you might not have an IoT expert on staff. Maybe it's your purchasing manager that has been that IoT expert. One thing that I really like to emphasize is that, we as the smart home products will absolutely help you develop that smart home strategy of what you want to do, almost be as a consultant of sorts to find the right products, to find the right ones that work. But at the end of the day, you're obviously more concerned about building homes and selling homes. If you ever need contacts with an integrator who can then own that relationship with your home buyer, that's something that we offer as well. I know we do it from the Brilliant side. Adeel, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a massive dealer network that are certified Nest installers that you'd be more than happy to put them in touch with, correct?
Absolutely. We have Nest Pros. So we have them all over the country. And these people are obviously experts with Google Nest devices, and they can definitely work with the homeowner after the purchase.
Yeah, and different things that we've seen that have been successful is say, okay, you work with that integrator to do the installation in the home, and after it, contracts are signed and the home is bought, they say, hey, we have a pre-scheduled, 2-hour session where we walk them through and give them this sort of white glove experience so that new home buyer is comfortable with their smart home technology. They're familiar with their smart home technology, to set up scenes on Brilliant, to help set up what they want their thermostat to be, to get the applications on their phone, to really understand what that proper experience would be. So now you, on your CSAT scores, you're going to say, all right, my home buyers are loving it. They're getting this white glove service. That CI is owning the relationship, so then they can choose to upgrade to more products. And this is a very symbiotic relationship between the home builder, the home buyer, and the partner product companies to all have this kind of greater objective in mind. So it's really important that we want to highlight that the onus is not on you if you don't want it to be. If you want to have an integrator be brought into the fold, you have someone that you work with, great, fantastic. I know we offer training for them as well. Google Nest offers training so they can be familiar and up to speed as a part of that pro network. So there's always going to be options for you and how you want to proceed and what it's going to be for those, home buyers moving forward. But anything else you want to add on that, Adeel?
No, I think you hit it on the head, Oki.
Nice. I'd say in that case, we're 37 minutes past the hour here. We're not going to go the full hour, but I really want to see, what Google, and so Adeel, from your perspective in the Google side, what can you offer to builders as far as maybe assets or help or consulting for those that are really looking to get into the smart home?
Yeah, so when you look at what we can offer, we have a team of people out there. We also have reps out there. So if there are builders that want to work with us, we can get you in touch with the right people. Asset-wise, once you've decided to standardize Google Nest into your home, you can work with that custom integrator, or that Nest Pro, and they can provide you with all the assets that you need and help you with marketing. Because one of the cool things about the Google Nest products in general is the fact that we are usually rated number 1 or number 2 in the category that we're in. And if a consumer does do a quick Google search or a Bing search, whatever they're into, they can see what's going on and how we rank, right? So I think from that perspective is when you're offering Google Nest devices as a standard in your home, the homeowner automatically knows that this is a premium product. It is the best in class product in that category. And it helps not only the builder, but the integrator as well, because now they can build off of that and offer packages. And that's where I think the builder needs to work closely with a Nest Pro or a Brilliant Pro or a custom integrator in general, so that they can figure out how we can market this, how we can standardize it, what type of packages make sense, and the integration aspects. Because Oki brought up what makes Brilliant so amazing, but you still need to be able to do that, and that's a part of the packages that the integrator can kind of create and guide the builder to. So I think what it starts off with is the pro itself, having the builder have like a pro that they can definitely partner with and figure out what those packages are that they can either standardize or offer, and then figuring out what that experience is and have them coming back. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure builders are very cognizant of their NPI scores, and to enhance the NPI scores that they have is having that great experience. And it starts with, Google Nest and Brilliant products in the home.
No, that's fantastic. I'm really glad you brought up marketing because just as you do marketing support, Brilliant does marketing support as well, from hang tags in the home. So Brilliant controls on the wall, little hang tag that goes over. So people walking the model home, it can draw their eyes to it and say, hey, here's some of the value that you're getting. You can upload photos about your properties onto here. We do yard signs, one pagers. We'd help you out with digital assets as well. So Brilliant, we don't look at ourselves as a vendor, or in that sense, we really do look at ourselves as a partner in this journey, because smart home can be intimidating and we want to make sure it's the proper experience. Now, here's a piece that Adeel, I wasn't thinking about before, and it's not in our notes, but I did want to talk about. I think it's really important that say, hey, I'm a builder and I'm curious and I want to get started. What about putting this in my model home or my model homes in the certain community? What advantages are you going to be getting there? And I'm instantly thinking, okay, my model home is instantly going to be more secure, more energy efficient, and I can manage that model home from an application wherever I am. That seems like a massive advantage, even if it's just in my model homes when I'm showing this off.
Absolutely. Then you're absolutely right. You don't have to be there at the home. And like I said, energy efficiency, right? The least energy efficient home is the home that's cooling itself when there's no occupation.
Yep. Additionally, things that you can use smart technology for, which have become very popular, virtual tours. Someone would be able to press the doorbell, and if you're in the office, you can let them in, talk to them, say, hey, walk around. If you need me, I'll be over in this area, something like that. And if I'm just knowing that someone's going to be showing up at a certain time, great, I can open up the application, unlock the door, double check the thermostat's at the right temperature, make sure lights are on, and again, really provide that great experience for that potential home buyer. So now we talk about the cost savings for the HVAC system in those model homes. It's not running when it doesn't have to, along with the lights. They're not running they're not on when they don't have to be. The security of that home, making sure all the doors are locked. If they tied in, a garage door opener that we integrate with, something on that front. Being able to remotely manage it so I don't have to be on site. And then the ability to provide virtual tours to those potential home buyers, as these are all things that, we've seen the pandemic has really changed for the future. Sometimes, even though things are opening back up, people still want to do virtual tours. They just want to be with their family. They just want to walk the home without somebody there. And that's completely fine. Note that with a smart home technology package, you're at least able to offer that. So you're not excluding anybody who might not be, well, if I can't get this virtual tour, then maybe I don't want to be a part of, buy this home. You never know what people are going to be sensitive to. And I think it's important that we take into account every single person that's out there. And even to the Google products point, with the doorbell, Adeel, I love how you talked about how your products all work together. And if there's danger in the home from CO2 or smoke or something, there's the little red ring that comes around the doorbell. So hey, it's not a safe place to go into. So all aspects of technology that can just provide a deeper really level of smart home technology into the home that makes the home buyer's life just easier. It's ubiquitous. It's there. They don't have to think about it. And again, that's the future. That is our vision. We believe in the next, 10 years, 5-10 years, every home is going to be a smart home. There's not going to be any question about it. So we're trying to prepare for that. We work on our partner integrations. We continue to enhance the experience. And, a big thing that I really like to highlight, being able for us to partner with Google is a really big deal, because not just the fact that it's the brand name Google, but Google takes their partnerships very seriously. Brilliant, we take our partnerships very seriously. This is not a random API or open API we grab off the internet. This is something where our development teams are actually working together to create and craft the proper experience. You can imagine from the Google perspective, if it doesn't meet their high standards, they're not going to want to integrate. And that's part of what we're able to do at Brilliant, is be able to deliver on the high standards that Google has, as well as deliver on our high standards as well. So when we talk about the doorbell experience, when they press the Nest Hello doorbell, that picture, that image, that video is going to pop up on your Brilliant control. You're going to have that two-way conversation. When we want to lock the door from the Brilliant control, we can lock that door. When we want to access the Google cameras that might be around the house or around the yard, I can, again, do that from my Brilliant control. So it's a very customized experience to make sure the end user is very satisfied by making the decision to go with smart technology and these specific brands. Anything else to add on that, Adeel? Sorry, I know I just kind of went off there.
No, I think you nailed it, Oki.
Nice. Okay. So, as we start to put a little bow on this, as we start to look at, the value proposition and how Brilliant and Nest really help your business, I think it comes down to, several different pieces here. And Adeel, you feel free to chime in. I think definitely it's going to come down to the affordability of the smart home control system and probably that ability to have a security platform. And ease of use are the first two that really come to my mind as far as major benefits for you. What would you say?
Yeah, I think, Doorbell comes to mind. Nest Thermostat comes to mind. Personally, I think Nest Thermostat would probably be the first on my list, just to make it easier. But to your point, the Doorbell obviously makes that difference as well. And then the integration aspect, right? Like having that experience and really highlighting that experience in the home, because you and I know like what the experience is, but the average consumer does not. And if the integrator comes in, creates that experience, and to your point, even in a virtual setting, can show that off, I think that's really the differentiator here, is showing off what it's capable of. Because when we say energy management or smart thermostat, people just think, oh, I can pick up my phone and adjust the thermostat. But that's not smart energy. Smart energy is, hey, the thermostat knows that, hey, no one's home right now. I should roll it back and put the temperature up because I'm overcooling a home that is unoccupied, right? Or the video doorbell, knowing who's at the door. And then one thing that I would kind of add on to what you were saying earlier is, if you had Nest cameras even inside of your home, you could take your virtual interaction to the next level, because you'd have a Nest cam in each home. You could have two-way communication in each room and explain like, hey, these are features of our kitchen, of our family room, etc. And it takes that virtual experience to the next level, right? Because now you have the realtor or the builder who can walk through the entire home, have that two-way communication with the end user as they're walking throughout the home, and really kind of explaining, hey, this is what you get with the smart home experience today. And it makes it seamless, right? Because, in a virtual setting, people might walk around the home, but they might overlook some of the cool things that the builder has done. And that's where, like, even having Nest cameras throughout the entire home, one, that can be a part of a package. But from a model home perspective, now you can actually have that conversation. And then pulling up the Google Home app or even the Nest app and showing the homeowner, like, hey, your home could potentially look like this, and showing them what it could be. Same with the Brilliant app, right? Like, I think don't make assumptions in what the product's capable of doing. Assume that no one knows about it, and educate them on some key points that are very relevant. And I think once you do that, and then the key talking points should obviously be tied to experience. Once you can show off that experience, I think that's where all that kind of comes to a head.
Yep. And I know from our perspective, we train sales staff, we train the integrators, we train everybody, at least from my perspective, who has any sort of interaction with Brilliant Control. So if you're worried about your model home staff, that, hey, are they going to be able to speak to this? We train them. Are you worried about the integrator that's going to be maybe installing the thermostat and installing the Brilliant Controls? We train them. So from every step of this journey, we are with you, because it's intimidating. It's a lot that's going on. You already had enough on your plate. So the marketing aspect, the training aspect, the interactions, how to get it set up, we help you across this whole journey to make sure it is the right experience for you and it is the right experience for the home buyers. Because again, like we've talked about, we've preached, and it's definitely done some good things for us in our careers and us in our companies. The experience comes first. And when you put the experience first, you're going to see it in your scores. You're going to see it in the homes that you're selling and what you're creating. It just, I think it's a really good kind of motto to go by, just not just in work, but in life.
Agreed.
Nice. Well, Adeel, I think that's about all I have on the docket from my perspective. Is there anything else you want to chat about here for the audience that is watching before we hop into questions?
No, I just want to say, I think that having an interview style training is much more fruitful, because we get to hit many more topics than just having like a standard PowerPoint and going through the slides. So thank you, Oki and and the team for getting this together.
Absolutely. No death by PowerPoint today. And again, if you needed to see a live demo of the Brilliant Control, what it can do as I run around my house like a crazy person, you can always go back and watch that previous webinar that's stored on Builder Partnerships. So with that, Emma Jane, what questions have flowed on in? I hope there's at least a few for us.
There is one. We do have a question from someone that he's asking, do you have any plans to introduce or integrate wellness technology into your platforms? Examples, air and water quality, human-centric lighting, etc.
Adeel, you want to answer that first, then I'll hit it from the Brilliant side?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have partnered with companies that do have wellness categories. So like Pure 365 comes to mind. I know there's a lot of IEQ manufacturers that have assist integration. Alert Labs comes to mind from a sensor standpoint. They're a company that focuses on sensors, whether that's flooding or water management, et cetera. They do that. The fact that Google is an open platform, you can seek out those manufacturers that are the best in their category, and most likely they'll have a Google Assistant integration, which kind of brings it all together. So we do have those. You just have to seek out those manufacturers that are in that wellness category, and there's a high likelihood or a high probability that they have a Google integration in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then from the Brilliant perspective, of course, we generally integrate with those partners that are doing a lot of that already. So whatever products Google are going to be putting out there, we would want to be integrated with, and it's all done again through the APIs on the platform. I'm glad you mentioned things like human-centric lighting. It's a very clever marketing idea. Essentially, it's tied in with your circadian rhythms, which are things like, hey, when it gets to around sunset, are my lights going to turn on or off? At what brightness? At certain times of night, is it getting more dim? And these are all things that you can program, one, directly within the Brilliant control itself to the lights, or two, through one of the partner integrations, like maybe you have Philips Hue bulbs or LifeX bulbs. That's also built into those products as well. So it's just, some very simple programming for your different scenes of what an evening scene is, what a good night scene is, what a good morning scene is. And you can program your lights within Brilliant to be at different brightness levels through all of those, as well as if you had smart bulbs, even different colors, and that can be tied in. So if I had Philips Hue bulbs, well, I want my good morning scene for my Philips Hue bulbs to be a soft white, to come in at 15% every morning, 10 minutes before sunset. Absolutely, you can program that once, and then you never have to worry about it again. It'll always do that, and so on and so forth. So that sort of circadian rhythm, that human-centric lighting, absolutely can be built in and programmed within Brilliant, even right now.
Well, excellent. That's a great answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you actually did go over a little bit of that with your first webinar that you did with us back in, I think it was October or November of last year.
Oh, don't tell me that was a year ago. It feels like
I know. It was a year ago, but that, again, if you want to get the whole walkthrough where Oki literally takes you around his home and shows you how to do different colors and different scenes and music and all that stuff, that is on the website as well. We're down to just a few people who've stuck with us to the very end. I will allow you to speak your question if you don't want to type one out. So we'll give you just a minute to raise your hand if you'd like, and I can give you the opportunity to ask a question. You guys covered so much great information in this last hour. It's great. And I know I'm just going to throw this out there because I didn't know what IoT was until I took my database management class a couple months ago. So Adeel, do you want to just tell everybody what IoT is, just in case there's some people who are like me in the older generation that are like, what the heck is that? And we don't use that term where I'm at.
Sure. It's Internet of Things, and it's smart devices and anything that can be somewhat connected or Wi-Fi. But just about all technology is almost IoT. There's very seldomly is it just still analog. And if it is analog, there's definitely that manufacturer that also makes a smart device that would be classified as an IoT device.
Great. Thank you so much. I know it's sometimes you get these terms that you just automatically know, and I was like, IoT, when they did that in my class, I was wondering what that was. So
I think to your point, Emma Jane, I always have to dial it back. I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, not far from the heart of Silicon Valley, and I have to think to myself, okay, the this is a little bubble right here. Everybody is very in this bubble. I have to remove myself to understand. If I said SaaS, people are like, what? Like, oh, that's software as a service, excuse me. So I have to, remove myself and understand, like, yes, I am in the forefront of it, but the adoption to get people on board. So it's almost like living in the future in a sense. I don't know if anybody's ever traveled to Japan by chance, but that is the future. They are like 10 years in front of us. It is absolutely amazing. I remember they were watching TV on their phones back in 2006, and we still had, flip phones that were barely doing much. So it's a similar type of experience that I have to, rein myself in from time to time to understand, hey, it's a journey. And people are going to be at different parts of this journey, and that is 100% fine and okay. We always just want to make sure you get to that destination.
Yep. Well, it looks like we do not have any other questions. You guys covered a lot of great information, and I think everybody's still trying to process it. So if you guys have questions today, you will get an email from me tomorrow thanking you for coming to the webinar. If you did not attend the webinar live, you'll be getting one from me saying sorry you couldn't attend, but you will have access to Oki's email address on there, so you can go ahead and email him directly with any questions that you think of at the close of this webinar after you've gone through and processed it or even rewatched it. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you so much, Oki and Adeel, for being here today. All the education you gave us today was great, and we look forward to doing more webinars with you in the future.
Perfect. Emma Jane, thank you so much. And Adeel, as the special guest, you were fantastic. Thank you, man. Always good to see your face.
Thanks for having me.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.